Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are on the live server and we're having a look at the Marut Mk.1 or the HF-24 as it's called up here. This is the next event vehicle that's coming in for War Thunder, and basically it is an event that shouldn't be too hard to do. It's going to be a standard event vehicle, not a premium, and it's also going to be at rank 5 in the British tech tree, even though it is an Indian vehicle. Basically, it's going to be a 7.7, which might be a surprise, but once we test fly it, you might not be surprised at all. The first thing to mention about the Marut is it does have this internal pod of SNEBS that you can see here. I can't get rid of it, so you're just going to have a look at it while it's here. Basically, the way that this works is similar to some of the other aircraft in the game, where a little tray pops out at the bottom, and it basically can fire them off in little pieces, and that's how it works. So it'll be nice as kind of a sneak attack, but generally it's just additional weight. On top of that, the other weapon system that you have as a standard is some 30mm Aidens. Now you have 520 rounds of these Aidens. This is something with these 30mm. They always seem to have quite a lot of ammo on British slash Indian stuff, and this one is no different. It has a very similar setup to stuff like the Hunters, where you can see the kind of gun outlays here. So you'll be able to put a lot of firepower going forward, meaning that head-ons will be pretty nice, and also if you get hits on a target, you'll do a lot of damage. Talking about the other parts of the X-Ray, you have a pilot. There's no CCIP, no CCRP, no nothing, at least right now, and the rest of it is made of fuel, and of course the engines. This uses the Bristol Orpheus Mark 703s. They have 2050 kgf, and they do not have their afterburners. So these are just the standard Bristol Orpheuses before they were made into afterburning jet engines. There's no armor on this vehicle at all, which shouldn't be too surprising. And you do have 4 hard points, which right now are covered in fuel tanks, but I feel like you're not really going to need fuel tanks for it. Since this vehicle is an event vehicle, you will have to research the modifications on it. You can see here it's 90,000 RP, so shouldn't be too bad, to be honest. The Meteor FR9 was very similar to this in the Israeli tech tree. You get a G-suit, which is really nice. You get the engine upgrade and the standard flight performance stuff. And then also the secondaries are really interesting too. So first of all, you get some drag bombs. So these ones, which are right here, the 1,000-pound HE MCs. You get the standard GPs as well, which turn up. So these will be very good kind of donking people in ground forces, especially if this thing stays at 7.7. You have the standard 540s as well, just giving you additional kind of bomb options. You have the T10 121s, which are the HE warhead T10s. So unfortunately, they're not going to do a ton of damage. You only get 16 of those on top of the 50 SNEBS. The SNEBS themselves, once again, don't have a metric ton of explosive filler, but they do at least have a heat warhead on them. So you do have up to 400 millimeters of penetration, which is really nice. So once again, as a ground pounding thing, if you are using this in ground forces, which Britain does have quite a nice 7.7 lineup, this might actually work pretty well if you can aim the rockets really good. So the other one, of course, is more SNEBS. So you can bring 122 in total if you want to. And then one of them that we missed out, these things. These are the NASA 240s that you can see right here. They look very simple, but the stats on them are pretty nuts. They have a HE warhead, but their HE warhead has 25 kilos of explosive mass, and also it has 65 millimeters of armor penetration. So these ones are very similar to a lot of the other big rockets that we have in War Thunder, where they'll be able to hit the target quite hard, and then also at the same time penetrate and have a chance of overpressuring. So against AAs or against like other things like that, these rockets are going to be super annoying to deal with across the way. So don't be surprised if you have to set this up. The other thing is it does have secondary weapons available, so custom ones, so you can mix and match these. These are just the standard ones that are here. But yeah, you'll be able to mix and match, which I think will be really cool and really nice overall. And no real air-to-air weaponry either. So no missiles on this thing. There's no countermeasures. There's no nothing like that. Even though it's a pretty modern jet, that wasn't really what its role was designed for. So I'm guessing it doesn't get access to that. Another thing to also mention is the repair cost of this thing. So the stock repair cost is 6,605 when it comes to aerialistic, and then 9,671 when spaded, which I feel like won't be too bad in general. It also has a Mach number limit of nearly Mach 2, so I don't think you're going to be able to go over that. I'm just going to put that out there um, because it just seems a little bit nuts. And also, internally, it carries 26 minutes of fuel. So if you are running the drop tanks, which are 100 gallons, I think you'll generally be fine to kind of, set this thing off. So why is this thing 7.7? I think it's honestly because of its acceleration being pretty rough in terms of the vehicle. You can also see this is the standard roll rate. The actual fuel tanks have around about 16 minutes worth of fuel in it. If you want to see the cockpit, this is what it looks like. It looks pretty standard, but I generally think it's quite nice actually. And in simulator, I know a lot of the guys will be very happy with this. You can see also the aimer over there moves around, so yeah. It even has a wonderful clock right there, which usually you don't have a clock that's as pronounced as this, but it's pretty cool to see. All of the major gauges are down here, surprisingly. So in this like bottom left corner and in the center. But yeah, the clock is nice and set up for it. So this vehicle has the little pod that I talked about. You have to open the bomb bay for it to come out. You can see there, this is what it looks like. So kind of sticks out its little teeth. And then what you can do with it is you can fire these rockets like that. So there you go. That's all of them gone. Just like straight away, which is pretty nuts. Now the turn on this, this is it with the fuel tanks. Obviously you can do it differently. I don't think I have the G suit unlocked either, so yeah, that's a bit of a problem. But it holds its speed okay in a standard little turn. But I think this thing's really going to have the same problem that stuff like the Scimitar has, where it's just not going to be able to turn at high speeds. And that is what's going to be its killer. The acceleration is better than I thought it would be in terms of, the vehicle itself. The firepower is nice too. And if you get a down tier in this thing, I don't really understand how anything is going to really be able to catch you. You can see that we're getting up to 1,000 kilometers an hour without really worrying, but the moment that you turn, it does obviously go down, but not too bad. And once again, we're able to hit 10G overload, which isn't terrible either. So not entirely sure why this thing is 7.7. When I look at stuff like the Meteors being at 8.0, maybe it's the fact that this thing is a bit less maneuverable than them, so therefore it's just seen as bad. But its elevator at the moment actually feels pretty good. Like, it's not the best, but I mean, I've definitely had worse in terms of it. The Aiden's guns are always going to be nice to use. If you've never used the Aiden's, I highly recommend giving them a go on whatever you find in the game. And hopefully with this, it doesn't have some like weird thing that just makes it completely worthless, because right now it actually feels quite nice to fly for this type of vehicle. I'm just a little bit worried about, as I said, the energy retention and also just the general flight above 1,000. I don't think it should be bad though. I really don't. I think in general, this thing should actually be pretty nice. I did say this about the IR as well though, so just be a bit careful because I really like the IR. I like how it flies, but a lot of other people don't, so that can be an issue. One of the major thoughts I have with this thing though is it just doesn't have any extra systems. So this thing is very bare bones. It doesn't have, any CCIP, it doesn't have anything like that. And then also you can see that it fires a lot of these rockets at the same time, by the way. That's a single tap and it's fired like 10 of the rocket salvo stuff, so you do have to be a bit careful of that. Fuel efficiency is crazy on this thing. You can see that we've hardly used any fuel while going around, and the loss control stuff will be fixed once once this thing actually has a pilot in it. So right now, I think this thing's actually looking quite nice. And the other part of it is, since this is kind of the base model of the Marut, it means that we can get some more of them in the game, which I think would actually be really cool. And yeah, I generally feel like I'll have a good time in this thing. This is going to be a very similar playstyle to stuff like the Simi, stuff like the Hunter, but at a lower BR. And I think that's going to work pretty well. Something tells me this thing might go up in BR pretty quickly, especially after some of the changes. But the event starts soon. Make sure to keep up with it. I'll make some videos when it comes to how to grind out the event and how to move off. Let's just see a turn at 1100. Oh, yeah, it's a bit stiff, but that's kind of standard with these types of things. But yeah, I'll keep you up with what's going on with it, and make sure to sink your teeth into. This event is one of the easier ones, so it shouldn't be too hard to sort out. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.